Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Andrew Shriver, 96887, from the Public Defender for Mr. Abercrombie. Judge, we are in receipt of the indictment over 24 hours. We will waive its reading, waive any defects as to service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, would just note as to bond in this matter, Mr. Abercrombie is still in school right now. He's a senior in high school in the Columbus area. He does have a lot of family locally that he can stay with that have actually been in touch with our office while this case is pending. And as far as we're aware, Your Honor, he does not have any sort of adult criminal history. We'd ask the court to take that into consideration. I understand the state has a presentation as well.
All right. Well, let me indicate preliminarily that the matter will be heard by the Honorable Judge Daniel Gall. I believe Judge Tim McGinty is sitting for Daniel Gall, so that'll be your judge. And the first pretrial is October 22nd. I'm going to assign you counsel. I'll assign Attorney Daniel Terfagnahu. And there is a prosecutor who would like to be heard on the issue of bond.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Connor Dabb, on behalf of the states. At this time, the state's requesting a $250,000 cash property bond with standard monitoring GPS release. This defendant does have a prior juvenile felonious assault. Additionally, he was arrested in connection with this felonious assault here. Occurred on October 24th. He was posting a picture with that gun on social media at 10/26 and was arrested on October 10th. He was interviewed on Tuesday, where he implicated himself in 4 shootings total. So for those reasons, to protect the public safety, we're asking for this bond. Last note, Your Honor, he has lost a child recently. This has essentially been on a shooting spree, trying to hold people responsible. He believes they're responsible. For that reason, we're requesting this high bond. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. The court is going to adopt the recommendation of the bond commissioner and set a $100,000 cash surety property bond. There will be a no contact order with the victim. The defendant will be on court supervised release if he's able to post his bond with GPS monitoring with standard conditions.
Thank you, Judge.
Come back in the courtroom. 694-730 Dennis O'Hanlon.
Morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Aaron Brockler, 0078205 on behalf of Dennis O'Hanlon. Judge will acknowledge receipt of the indictment for the statutory period, enter a plea of not guilty, waive reading, and ask for the original bond to continue.
All right. The court will note that the matter will be heard in the docket of the Honorable Judge Andrew Santoli. We'll note your appearance, Mr. Brockler. Regarding the issue of bond, I will continue the original bond, but I'm going to add a condition of GPS with home detention just because of the seriousness of the charge. And the first pretrial is October 28th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Test. Ladies and gentlemen, when your name is called, please step up to the podium. When you're done, come over and see me. I'm going to give you a piece of paper. That paper has your bond information, your next court date, and your attorney's information. Then have a seat over here for me, okay? Thank you.
Case number 695579 Ronald Sinta.
Judge, once again, Aaron Brockler, 0078205, will acknowledge receipt of the indictment, waive reading, enter a plea of not guilty, and ask for personal bond. Thank you, Your Honor.
Retaliation for what?
Your Honor, my understanding is that this was started out as a housing code violation, and There was allegedly insensitive voicemail left on either the prosecutor or the inspector's recording machine asking that they stop coming to the property. Obviously, I don't have discovery yet, but that's the thumbnail sketch.
Yeah, the threats, sorry, Ryan Gordy, RYANNGOATRTY, from the victim, just the threats were that he's going to shoot her in the face. So.
All right. The court will note that the matter will be heard in the docket of the Honorable Judge William Vaudry. We will note your appearance for the record, Mr. Brockler. I'm going to go along with the $5,000 personal bond recommendation. Although the threat sounds very serious, there's no indication of any actions being taken beyond the threat, and it is still just a third-degree felony. So the court is comfortable with the personal bond at $5,000 with no contact. In an abundance of caution, I'm going to add GPS with an exclusion-inclusion zone to include the victim's workplace and home. First pretrial is October 24th.
Thank you, good to see you.
You too.
Case number 695791, Joseph Anarella.
Good morning, Mr. Golizada.
Mary Golizada, born number 95672, on behalf of my client Joseph Anarella. Your Honor, we're under receipt of indictment and the reading of it, and I'm not guilty plea. Respectfully request this honorable court adopt the bond commissioner's recommendation.
So we'll accept the not guilty plea. The matter will be heard by the Honorable Judge Kellyanne Gallagher. The court will note Mr. Golizada's appearance. Happily adopt the recommendation of the prosecutor's office, of the bond commissioner's office, of a $5,000 personal bond with no contact with the victim, and the first pretrial is October 31st.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep.
Yes,
Next, the jail first appearance, case number 696154, Mew Howard. Case is going directly to grand jury. Counsel's present. Mr. Howard, is this? Yes.
Good morning, Your Honor. Dennis LeConte from Mr. Howard. I am retained on this case. And I'd like to be heard on the bond issue. There is a winner and not guilty plea on his behalf. There's currently a parole hold on him. I'm talking to the parole officer about that. I would ask the court that in case they decide to lift the hold, if you would amend this bond down so that the family could afford to make it if he's able to get out. I would request a $10,000, 10% cash assurance bond.
All right. First, let me indicate that the matter will be sent directly to the grand jury, so there's no judge for me to assign. I'll note your appearance for the record, Mr. LeConte, and let me give the prosecutor an opportunity to be heard on the issue of bond.
Good morning, Your Honor. Brendan Mackin for the state of Ohio. The state would ask the bond remain as currently recommended, the original bond. If the bond is to be amended in the future, we ask for the trial court judge to do that. As the defense counsel stated, there's a hold on right now, so it's moved. But for the victim's safety, the police observed that her throat and her face was severely damaged. They termed it was messed up with bruising and marks on her face.
All right. The court will sort of meet you in the middle. I don't want to just punt until one day some other judge can make the decision. So I'll give him a $25,000 cash surety property bond. It's closer to what he can make if the APA hold is lifted. As I indicated, the matter will go directly to grand jury. It'll be a $25,000 bond, but with no contact order with the victim, GPS, and exclusion and inclusion zone along with CSR.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yep.
Another jail arraignment, case number 695915, co-defendant A, John Dietrich.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive the reading, waive any defects as to service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, would ask a reasonable bond be set in this matter. I understand this is perhaps one of the street takeover cases. Would ask the court to consider the defendant's relatively young age, and as far as we're aware, lack of criminal history when setting a bond here. Your Honor, would actually ask that this matter go to private counsel, as I believe the co-defendant has been working with our office already. If it's all the same with the court, we'd like to keep working with Mr. Franklin.
All right. Let me just indicate that the matter be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge John Russo will accept a not guilty plea. And then our prosecutor has risen. Would you like to be heard on the issue of bond?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is asking for the bond as recommended by the bond commission of $50,000 cash for property, 10%. As a street
Let me stop you, Mr. Mack. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have a bond commissioner recommendation here of $10,000 personal.
Well, on the form I have, it says $50,000 cash for property.
I just wanted you to be aware of the update. That's all.
Okay, I was not. Nonetheless, for public safety, as defense counsel has said, this was a street takeover, which speaks to the public safety at West 25th and Lorraine Avenue, which is a high traffic area. Defendant was in a vehicle along with 20 other vehicles that stopped, blocked traffic in this intersection. And this defendant one of the co-defendants poured fire around the intersection, and poured gasoline around the intersection. This defendant got out of the vehicle and lit the gasoline on fire, creating a fire ring. It is, by definition, by interrupting the traffic, street takeover. This is a threat to community safety. It interrupted traffic. The state asked for a $50,000 bond.
Well, let me just say for the record that, just so that you and I are on the same page, regardless of the recommendation in this case, what I have here as far as arson-related charges relative to the fire you mentioned is a misdemeanor charge. And this was as indicted by your office. As it relates to the rest of the charges, the highest level felony I have is a 4th degree felony with a presumption in favor of community control. So, as long as this is still the arraignment room and not the punishment room, I'm going to set a bond that's appropriate to the level of felony. The highest felony, as I indicated, is a 4th degree felony. This is a defendant who has no record. So if you want higher bonds, then you have to talk to your state legislator about increasing the level of felony for this conduct. But right now, a personal bond is entirely appropriate. Anything else would just be sensational. So that's not what we're going to do. The bond will be a $10,000 personal bond. I will add a condition of court supervised release with a GPS so that the community can be safe and know that although he's out in the community, he will be being supervised. And if there's a violation of the conditions of bond, we'll know about it and we can have subsequent hearings. But so for now, it'll be GPS with electronic home detention, standard monitoring. $10,000 personal bond. First pretrial is October 24th, and I'll assign attorney Chris Maher.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, home detention. Home detention is standard, isn't it? Yeah, I know, but if you're on home detention, that means you can't leave your home. Yeah, what's that? Do it under the judge. Yeah.
And Night Salt, if you can let me know when you have Mr. Franklin available.
co-defendant?
He's a co-defendant, there's separation, so.
No. Okay.
We're gonna do female jail next, case number 695108, Trishelle Lee. Pending case on docket of Judge Holly Gallagher, Public Defender's Office assigned.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive its reading, waive any defects in the service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor would ask for the original bond to be continued in this matter as a personal bond and for our office to be appointed to represent.
All right. We will accept the not guilty plea. We'll note for the record that the matter's been assigned to the docket of the Honorable Judge Holly Gallagher. We'll assign the public defender. I'm happy to continue the original bond. I will note that there's a capias outstanding from I think last month, but I'm not going to alter her bond. I'll just continue the original bond, and Judge Gallagher sets her own pretrials. So I can't give you a pretrial date.
Another jail, we can have James Wilson, arraignment and first appearance. Arraignment 668687, and his first appearance, case number 696222.
Your Honor, as to the arraignment case, the one ending 687, we are in receipt of that indictment more than 24 hours. We'll waive its reading as well as any defects in service and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, on the case ending 222, as that's going to the grand jury, we just ask that our office is appointed on that case as well as the 687 case, and for reasonable bonds in these matters, Judge.
All right, thank you. Regarding 668-687, that's the case that's been indicted. That matter will be assigned to the docket of the Honorable Judge John Satula. We will assign the public defender. The court will set a $2,500 personal bond. That is a 5th degree felony. There'll be a no contact order with the victim. As it relates to the case that has not yet been indicted, I will likewise assign the public defender. I'll also set a $2,500 personal bond with no contact order with the victim, any added condition of court supervised release. The case has already been indicted and set for pretrial October 31st.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilson, can I get a good phone number for you, please?
216 612 4650.
Thank you, sir.
Another jail arraignment, case number 680002, co-defendant B, Bradford Sneed.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We'll waive the reading, waive any defects defects in service and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, we request the recommended personal bond in this matter and the appointment of counsel.
The matter be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge Peter J. Corrigan. The court will assign counsel. The court will assign attorney Joe Leonardo. And we will adopt the bond commissioner's recommendation of a $10,000 personal bond with no contact with the victim. I'm going to add GPS with an inclusion zone. And first pretrial is October 21st.
Thanks, Judge.
Next jail, if I can have Nicholas Rowan, he has an arraignment and a first appearance. Arraignment 680384, pending case on docket of Judge Mooney. Anthony Alto assigned. First appearance, case number 696195.
Oh, okay. That's white. Oh, okay. You could have just started with that. You start with that.
Your Honor, we are, as to the 384 case, I should say, we're in receipt of the indictment more than 24 hours. We'll waive its reading, waive any defects in service, and enter a not guilty plea. On the 195 cases, it's going to the grand jury. Would just ask reasonable bond on that, and that Mr. Alto is appointed on both matters. I do see the probation order on Mr. Rowan.
All right. Regarding the 696195 case, as you indicated, it's going to the grand jury, and as you also indicated, there's a probation hold, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time considering the personal bond in this case because he's not going anywhere. The bond will be a $25,000 cash surety property bond. I can't announce a judge in that case, but in 680384, that matter will be heard by the Honorable Judge Brian Mooney, which means likely the earlier case will also be before Judge Mooney. Similarly, I'm not going to set a personal bond in this case because of that probation hold. So there'll be a $2,500 cash surety property bond in the 680384 case and a $25,000 cash surety property bond in the 696195 case. The first pretrial on the indicted case is 10/23.
Mr. Rowan, did you have a question?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your question?
So I do have a bed available waiting for me. I just wanted the court to be known that I have the phone number for you guys to call if
All
you
right,
need it.
let me stop you. All of that is good to hear. I'm glad to hear you're focusing on your sobriety, but it's the thing that you want to take up with Judge Mooney, not with me, because whatever bond I set is really irrelevant as long as you've got that probation hold. So you need to have your attorney, Mr. Alto, address that issue with the court.
Okay, is he in the courtroom today or no?
He is not. He is not.
Okay.
But you've got a
Thank you, Your
pretrial October 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
Arraignment case number 692855, Michael Hill. Court's in receipt of a temporary protection order which has been signed by the defendant.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of the indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive its reading, waive any defects in service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, we would ask that our office is appointed in this matter. And as to bond judge, it does appear that Mr. Hill had previously posted a $7,500 10% bond in this case. He did unfortunately go habeas, but the docket does note that service of the summons was not successfully completed. The address they had returned as vacant. So I'd ask the court to consider that, as well as, again, as far as I can tell, Mr. Hill does not have a criminal history. There may be something else I'm missing, but wanted to bring that to the court's attention.
Well, are you aware that he had to be extradited from Indiana?
I am not. I was not, Your Honor.
So I thought you might not have been. All right. Mr. Mackin, do you want to be heard? You don't have to.
No, we've asked for the bond recommended.
So the court will note that the matter be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge Ashley Kilbane. We will assign the public defender. I otherwise may have considered simply reimposing the $7,500 bond, but I'm going to set a $10,000 cash surety property bond in light of the fact that the defendant, while on bond, apparently, we won't say fled to Indiana, but found himself in Indiana and had to be extradited. If he does post this $10,000 bond, in light of the seriousness of the charge, there'll be a GPS monitor with home detention and court supervised release. First pretrial is October 29th.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Next, Anthony Creighton, 2 cases, 693066 and 696106.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of both these indictments more than 24 hours. We'll waive their reading as well as any defects as to service. Enter not guilty pleas on both. Request the recommended personal bonds and the appointment of counsel.
All right. The court will indicate that both of these matters will be heard by the Honorable Judge Tim Clary. The court will assign attorney Chuck Fuhrer to both matters. Regarding the issue of bond, I'll set a $2,500 personal bond on 693066, and then a $5,000 personal bond on 696106. I am going to add the additional requirement of court supervised release on both. All right. First pretrial is October 24th.
Thanks, Judge.
Yeah.
Gonna come back in the courtroom. Case number 695682, Juan Cloud.
No.
Your Honor, if I may approach, there's a temporary protection order. Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive the reading, waive any defects in service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, would ask that counsel is appointed and the recommended bond set. Mr. Cloud has posted the same bond. It is a reread.
Okay. The defendant's executed a temporary protection order. The court will sign that. All right, I'll note for the record the matter will be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge Kelly Ann Gallagher. I will assign attorney Leif Chrisman, and our prosecutor has risen. Do you have a comment you want to make, Mr.
Yes,
Prosecutor?
Your Honor. I would also request a GPS exclusion for the victim's safety. If that is not all right, part of one of the recommendations. The victim is 5 months pregnant
All right.
and states she's afraid.
very reasonable request. We'll set the $15,000 cash surety property bond payable at 10% with a no contact order with the victim, and we will add the addition of court supervised release with a GPS with an exclusion-inclusion zone.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, first pretrial is October 31st.
We have another jail, if we can go to case number 696011, Messiah Payne.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive its reading and any defects as to service, enter a plea of not guilty, ask for a reasonable bond, and the appointment of the public defender.
All right. We note for the record that the matter will be assigned to the docket of the Honorable Judge Dean Calabrese. I will appoint the public defender. And before setting bond, I believe there's somebody who might want to be heard.
Yes, Your Honor.
State your name for the record, please. Take your time. Keep it together.
Kennisshall. And I'm Metro Office. I just want to say, I don't want no bond. He stole something from me. They woke my baby up. My son was asleep at home. They lured my son out the house, and then they pushed my son out the car. My son had bruises on his head, his arms, everywhere from them pushing my baby out the car. I don't want no bond. They stole my son. He was a father of 9 kids, and he was my only baby. And they came and took my son from me. They can't come home. They gonna feel what I feel.
I appreciate you coming down. I appreciate your courage to speak. Thank you. Mr. Prosecutor, do you want to be heard on this?
Your Honor, the state would ask for a bond of $1 million. It's alleged that shot the victim at close range, and for the safety of the victim's family, we would ask for the $1 million bond.
All right. Well, there appears to have been some thought placed into the recommendation here, as there always is. But I'm going to go along with this recommendation. I'm going to set a $500,000 cash surety property bond payable at 10%. There'd be no contact order with the victim's family, and a GPS with standard conditions should the defendant post the bond. First pretrial is October 28th. Why'd you go with 500,000 instead of today? Andy.
Back in the courtroom, 695426, Ann Lero, Schilero.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of this indictment more than 24 hours. We will waive the reading as well as any defects as to service, enter a not guilty plea. Would ask Your Honor for the recommended personal bond in this matter and the appointment of counsel.
Note for the record that the matter will be heard in the docket of the Honorable Judge Cassandra Collier-Williams. The court will assign Attorney Frank Gorsica and will happily adopt a recommendation to the Bond Commissioner's Office set a personal bond, $2,500 with no contact with the victim. And the first pre-trial in front of Judge Collier-Williams is October 31st.
Thanks, Your Honor.
The vote has been made.
695817, co-defendant B, Nathaniel Harmison. Co-defendants pending on the docket of Judge Hagan. Public Defender's Office represents the co-defendant.
Morning.
Your Honor, we are in receipt of the indictment more than 24 hours. Waive the reading, waive any defects as to service, and enter a plea of not guilty. Would ask Your Honor for the recommended personal bond and the appointment of counsel.
Okay. The matter will be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge Emily Hagan. The court will assign Attorney John Kopasakis. We'll set a $2,500 personal bond. There is a requirement here of court supervised release, and the first pretrial is October 28th.
Just explaining something like that.
No problem.
Hey, Ted. Oh, yeah, fine. Can you tell Andrew 1 minute? Thank you. We're going to go back to the jail. Case number 695915, co-defendant B, Gage Franklin. Co-defendant was assigned to the docket of Judge John Russo.
So this is
Your Honor, we are in receipt of the indictment more than 24 hours. We'll waive its reading as well as any defects as to service, enter a plea of not guilty. Your Honor, would ask that the public defender is appointed on this matter and judges a similar situation to Mr. Dietrich, who we arraigned earlier. This is the other of the street takeover cases. As the court did note, the high count here is an F4. Mr. Franklin, as far as we're aware, has no criminal history. He is working, Your Honor. We'd ask the court to, if the court is going to set GPS on this, to allow him to set a condition that would allow him to return to work. But otherwise, Your Honor would incorporate the same arguments as before. I think a personal bond is warranted here.
all right. The matter will be heard on the docket of the Honorable Judge John Russo. We will assign the public defender. Before setting bond, I want to give you a chance to be heard if you'd like to, Mr. Mackin.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. As this defendant is alleged to be the driver of one of the vehicles that blocked the intersection, there was also an ambulance that was delayed from going from an emergency route to Lutheran Hospital for community safety due to his actions and delaying of the ambulance. The state would request a $50,000 bond.
I appreciate the request, and I don't want to say anything to minimize the seriousness of these charges. However, the highest level felony remains a 4th-degree felony. In light of that, I'm going to set a bond commensurate with a 4th-degree felony that takes into consideration the defendant's prior criminal history, which appears to be none at all. So it is entirely appropriate to set a $10,000 personal bond, emphasizing the word that you used in your comments, Mr. Mackin, that these are just allegations. So a $10,000 bond will be set. We'll do it with the requirement of court-supervised release and GPS with home detention, but with work privileges. First pretrial is October 24th.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Mr. Franklin, can we get just so I know I have it, can we get a good phone number for you, please?
234-261
Hold on, stop,
Wait,
stop,
wait,
stop.
yes.
Stop.
Yeah.
Get it to him through some